I'm the owner of DFW Holiday. It's one of the larger holiday lighting installing companies here in the DFW area. We've been around for about 5 years now, and we do all things holiday. We do lighting installations, permanent installations. We do decorating. We do fun yard things like my little soldier friend in the background there.
Cute.
Basically, anything that lights up or looks pretty around the holiday season, we're taking care of that for you guys.
That's awesome, Joel. So tell me, what did you do before you got into the holiday lights?
For about the 10 years before I opened this business, I was actually out on the road with Broadway musicals. I would do lighting, sound, and video for, name a show, and I've probably been out with it at least a little bit for all over the US and Canada. So to say lighting and design is pretty much in my blood would be an understatement. I did that for up until about 6 months. Until about 6 months to a year before the pandemic really kind of hit, and that's when I decided I didn't want to travel anymore, and settled down permanently in Dallas with my lovely wife and kids. And then we opened this business not too long after that. Officially, we had been open for about a year before that, but it was kind of unofficial. And then we went full swing with it after that.
Very cool. Well, I'm so glad to have you today. Let's talk a little bit about when homeowners look for an installer. I know that, just over the past couple of weeks, myself and neighbors and, all of us have been having conversations about this. Hey, did you get a quote and who are you using? And, because referrals are, usually the best way to learn about an installer. So there are a few different ways to find a holiday light installer, right, Joel?
Absolutely. In my line of work, I would say there's technically about 3 different tiers of your holiday light installers. You have you search up on Facebook Marketplace or your Craigslist or your sites like that, and you find somebody with a simple little ad up that says, "I'll put your Christmas lights up, and I'll charge you $100 to do it, or $150 to do it." That's your what we call like the low level installers. Those are the ones that we typically try to avoid, and I try to get as many people as I can to avoid those. Not saying they're bad people, but that's where you're going to run into more issues than you will otherwise run into. And then you have the next tier of installers, which are people who do it in their off seasons. You have your landscaping companies, your window companies, pressure washing companies, things like that. Companies that have another main business that is their main focus, but then around this time of year they get slow, so they use Christmas light installation as a way to supplement their income. Firefighters do it a lot as well too. We have a lot of firefighter installation companies out there. Then you have the third level, which is where we're at, which is this is what we do. We are Christmas light installers. We may do something else in the off season when we're not as busy in the Christmas light time of year, but this is the main bread and butter of what we do on a day-to-day basis. And of course, obviously this time of year is our busiest time of year. Basically from third week of October all the way through the second week of December, we're completely swamped.
Wow. So you say that this is what you guys do full time. So my first question is, what are you doing in your off season that really plays into, that kind of sets you apart from the others, if that makes sense? What are you doing in the off season?
Sure. We don't really have a true off season.
Okay.
We have a couple of months where we're really slow when obviously nobody's putting up or taking down Christmas lights, but we start really doing installs towards the end of September. We'll start putting up, and even now we're even starting to do them earlier now because we'll have customers who want Halloween lights on their house now. It's becoming a really popular new look to have, your purple and your orange lights up, or your purple and green lights, get that, Beetlejuice kind of look going, really, really light up the house and make it really look pretty. They want that for the whole month of October. And then first week of November, we'll go back out there. We'll switch everything out for your Christmas colors, whether it be your candy cane red and whites or your multicolors or your red and greens, whatever your holiday choice is. And then we stay busy really right up till Christmas because, inevitably something happens. I'll get a call on December 20th that somebody's house has a string of lights out because a really brave squirrel decided to climb the tree and rip a couple lights down. It happens all the time. So we'll be out there, we'll be fixing stuff. We'll be making sure that for Christmas, everything is perfect. And then all the way through the end of January, we're taking things down and putting them away and inventorying and making sure we have everything packed away properly for the season so that nothing is broken the next year. And then for the rest of the year, we're doing things like we're building inventory, we're building new stuff for the next season. And we're also doing a lot of other types of lighting installs. We are doing landscape lighting. We are doing smart lighting on people's houses that they can change for different holidays. Our house, my wife had me put it in last year. We have a lighting under all of our eaves that we can make red, white, and blue on the 4th of July. And it can be rainbow during Pride Month and things like that. It's just all, flip the switch on your iPhone.
Wow. So you
So
guys really are full service year round. This is what you guys do full time.
Oh, absolutely.
Very
Absolutely.
cool. So I was going to ask you, Joel, so why is it important to hire this third tier, as you call it, contractor versus the others? Because, especially in times like this, I mean, people are trying to save money. So talk to me a little bit about that. Why is it so important?
Well, I like to tell a lot of people who are interested in our company and who I quote out, I'll tell them right off the bat, we're not going to be your cheapest option. Your cheapest option is going to be this guy you find on Facebook. But just like I always like to tell people, you wouldn't hire an electrician to service your pool. You shouldn't hire your landscapers to do your Christmas lights, because about the worst thing that could possibly happen to you, which I do see all the time, is that you end up getting yourself a nice lawsuit for Christmas. And nobody wants that. When you hire, Mr. Nobody off of Facebook, he comes out. If you have a high roof, like Brittney, your roof is very high and very steep. I know it. I was personally on it this past weekend. And if you have somebody inexperienced who doesn't know safety protocols and doesn't know how to properly walk on a roof like that, they're going to fall. And if they fall and they hit your driveway, guess who's getting sued for that?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because last year was our first year in this home. And we had, we called a few people, one of them being a landscape company, and that was highly recommended in our neighborhood. And we called them out and he said, nope, your roof is too steep. We're not gonna, put lights on. And we were like, what? Why? That is just so crazy. And so we hired someone else and we weren't happy. And so that was how, I was introduced to you this year. And so you've been wonderful, which is, why we're here now. So thank you for saying that. Yes, we do. We have a very steep roof, and that's such a good point. And it's something I didn't even think about, that if someone, does take the job because they just need the money, we could be in a really bad predicament.
Absolutely. And I hear about it every year. It happens. I'll talk to customers who say, we hired somebody last year, he fell off and he broke his leg and he tried to sue our homeowner's insurance. So at that point, how much is your $200 Christmas light installation really saving you?
Sure, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you're talking about that. So let's talk a little bit about, and I may be, jumping around a little bit here, so show me some grace, but I just love this topic so much. I want to learn a little bit more about some of the things that you saw. So you came in this year, you did not hang our lights last year. You picked up our lights that were stored in our Tupperware from the previous installers. Share with the viewers today, what did you find?
So I found when I was, I came and picked up your lights a few days early because I wanted to make sure that everything was working and that everything was labeled and marked out, because since we didn't put them up last year, we have no idea what last year's installers did. They could have run them this way or that way, or, left, right in circles. And I only had a couple of photos to go off of to figure it out. So I wanted to make sure I had everything available. So if there was anything that was broken or anything that, wasn't labeled properly, we could have that done ahead of time. I found one of the most common mistakes in your guys' lighting that I see from landscaping companies and amateur installers. That's what we like to call suicide cables. It's when an installer makes custom extension cords to go from roof A to roof B, and they, instead of making them properly with a male plug on the power side and a female plug on the side where things are going to, they just make a cord with a male on both sides. And we call it a suicide plug, because if it's plugged into power and you touch the wires, touch the prongs on the other side, you're going to shock yourself, and you're going to shock yourself really bad. It's going to be 120 volts and it's going to knock you right down. So we call those suicide cables for obvious reasons. Those are not only not safe, they're not to code.
That's very scary, especially because we have 2 young children. Do you have an example of what that looks like?
I did. I saved one off of your house, actually.
Oh, my house. I'm so glad I could be a good example for you, Joel.
So we pulled this one down here. It's literally just an extension cord, and it has, you can see that it has male plugs on both sides right there. So if you plug this side in and you go to touch this side, you're going to shock yourself really bad. So
wow, that's really scary.
So we take these, we cut these, we throw them out, and we never use these again because it's not to code. And those are the things that we lovingly like to say, they make fire. and nobody wants fire.
Nobody wants fire. Absolutely not. So obviously our house was a great example. We have a steep roof. We had suicide cords from last year's, which is obviously a huge issue. What was something else that you were looking at whenever you were about to hang our lights, as far as like electrical or things like that, just to make sure that it was going to be the safest install?
Well, the biggest thing we always do whenever we come out to anybody's house is we figure out where we're going to power everything from. We find whatever cord we're going to be plugging our timers and things into, and we always check those. We always check them. We have a testing tool that we make sure that the plugs are properly grounded, they're properly safe with GFCIs on them. If it doesn't have a GFCI on it, we add a GFCI to it as well. A GFCI is a ground fault interrupt. It's what you'll find in your bathrooms a lot, with the little reset button on them. Those are there for if something in your if shorts out because of water specifically, it's going to trip that plug, and it's going to prevent it from obviously blowing the circuit, which is the whole rest of the house or the whole rest of whatever's on that circuit. But it's also a safety feature. It's going to prevent, heaven forbid, your circuit breaker, maybe that's a little bit older, it doesn't trip right away. Now you've got electricity arcing in your yard or on your roof, right next to things that are flammable. The GFCIs are there to protect that. It's very common in code. It's code almost everywhere in the country to have those on the outside of the house, but occasionally we find ones that don't have them. We just add one. We put one there, and we make sure that it's there so that there's never a chance that something's going to break on your house.
Sure, absolutely. And thank you for that. I feel so much safer now after you guys have done our install. So thank you for that. Were there any horror stories that you wanted to share that you may not have already covered that you've just heard from other installers?
Sure. Yeah, I hear them every year. Some of the worst ones I've ever heard. Family that I've been installing their lights now for probably 4 years now. I think this is our 4th year doing them. Told us the previous year they had a guy off of Facebook come out, and they were outside. The family was outside watching him do his work. Mom and young kids were watching the guy crawl on the roof, and he fell off the roof and broke his leg. Not something you want your kids to see. You don't want to see somebody hurt themselves. That traumatizes kids, and it's terrible for kids. I have 2 kids of my own. I would never want them to see something like that.
Sure.
And then I have another customer down in Cedar Hill who's been he's become a really good friend of mine as well. He hired me the first year because the landscaping company he hired to come out and do his Christmas lights used a staple gun and stapled through his roof shingles, put about 400 holes in his roof shingles, caused his roof to leak. And of course, after they come out, they do the installation, they rip him back out later. Now his roof is leaking. He's calling them on their phone number saying, "Hey, you damaged my roof. Like, you need to pay for that. You need to take care of that." And they just disappear off the face of the earth. You never hear from them again.
Oh my gosh. And all I can picture right now is the Griswold's house. And you just like picture just up and down the roof line. Funny, not funny, but really good to know that, these things do happen, and it's good to be cognizant of it so that way people can make the right hire. So what are some misconceptions about LED lights or, installing lights in general?
One of the biggest ones I hear all the time, and that everybody who works in this business hears, is LED is low voltage, so it's safe. That is about the biggest lie that ever existed. LED is low wattage, which means a string of 100 lights LED may only draw 7 or 8 watts, whereas a string of 100 incandescent light bulbs may draw 25 or 30 watts. And that's a much lower power draw, which means you are in fact going to be saving a lot of money on your electricity, but that doesn't make it low voltage. Christmas lights that you plug in your house are still running on 120 or 130 volts. And 130 volts, if taken in the wrong way, will kill you. It's not so to say LED is low voltage. There are low voltage LEDs out there. Certain things that you see, and other applications are low voltage, and those are completely different. But what LED lights that you're putting on your house for Christmas are not low voltage. They are standard 120 or 130 volts. So to say that they're safe because they're LED is very much not true.
Good to know. Any other misconceptions that you wanted to share with us today about just hanging lights in general, or LED lights as a whole? I know you just covered that as far as the voltage and such, but was there any other misconceptions that you think that homeowners have when it comes to, installing their holiday lights?
One of the biggest ones being that, if I can get it done cheaper, it's going to be better. I mean, that's, we all know in this world that cheaper is very rarely better. And one of the big ones that you'll find is that a lot of times installers on the lower end of installation companies will not include things like off-season storage. They won't include storing your lights in the rest of the year. They won't include removing your lights at the end of the year. So now it gets to be January, and it's January 30th. Your HOA is calling you, yelling at you that you don't have your Christmas lights down. You're trying to get a hold of the guy off Facebook that you called last October going, when are you taking my lights down? And they said, I'm not doing that. That's another $250 to come out and do that again.
That is
That's
so
a big one that
crazy.
traps a lot of people every year.
Yeah, that would not be cool. Not cool at all. So speaking of that, I'm so glad that you brought that, because that's a perfect segue into, we have friends and family right now that are hiring professionals to, get their lights put on their house. 'Tis the season. I can't believe it's already, November.
Either.
So what are some pro tips? So when they are, calling and getting quotes, and hopefully they'll give you a call, Joel, but when they're calling and getting quotes, what are some things that they should be asking that are included in the services?
The first question you should always ask when you're hiring a contractor to come out and do your lights, before you ask them about the type of lights, before you ask them how much it's going to cost, before you ask if they have availability. Question number one, are you insured? Find out if your company is insured and if they have the proper training and license. If they're not insured, or if they're not going to be insured, chances are at that point they're going to just stop responding to your messages. And I can promise you, if you're hiring a company to come out for $150 or $200 to install your lights, they are not going to be insured, because there's just no way for them to make money doing that.
So let me stop you right there. So like, let's say I'm calling up somebody, hey, can you come give me a quote? Or here, I'll send you a picture of my house.
Mhm.
Oh, by the way, are you insured? How can I ensure that they are insured? How do I verify?
It's really simple. Just ask them for a copy of their insurance. Christmas light insurance companies have a really nice certificate of insurance. I keep a copy of mine on my phone. I can show it to people whenever they want to know. I have paper copies of it if ever needed, but make sure you've got that certificate of insurance, because that's going to be the difference between if somebody falls off your roof and sues you, whether or not they are able to do that or not, or going to do that.
Okay, great. So that's a great tip. Do you have any more pro tips for homeowners when they're going through this process?
Sure. If you don't know what you want, or if you have no idea what you're looking for, don't be afraid to tell us that. Say, hey, this is what our house looks like. I have no idea what I want it to look like. I don't even know what colors I want it to look like. Send me a couple of examples. What we'll do is we'll take a picture of your house. We'll either pull it off of Google Maps, or we'll ask you to send it to us. And I'll use I have a program on my laptop where I can virtually draw Christmas lights all over your house in every different color and every different
Cute.
style. And I can say, this is what it would look like if it was candy cane. This is what it'll look like if you also wrap your windows. This is what your tree will look like if you do your tree. And we can send you those things right away. So don't be afraid to say, I have no idea what I want. This is what we do all day, every day. And we know what the current styles are, what the current trends are. Everyone's, doing different things all the time. We also have the kind of the inside information on the different types of lighting these days. We have a new product that we just started introducing this year. There are LED lights that look like the old-fashioned vintage incandescent lights with a real smooth finish on them. We just started introducing those this year. And we're one of the only contracting companies that currently has them.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah, they are very fancy and they're very popular.
Do you have any handy to show us, Joel? I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah, actually, let me grab one for you.
When you say vintage, I want to see.
Sure, give me 1 second here.
Okay, sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. So they look like these. So these.
Oh yeah, okay.
But these are LED and they're plastic. They're not glass. Here, actually, let me plug them in for you.
Oh my gosh.
1 second, let me just screw some light bulbs in here for you.
You're doing good.
So this is kind of our new style that we're getting this year. It's becoming really popular. Is these? It's kind of hard to see on camera.
So pretty.
Yeah, but they look like your old-fashioned vintage lights, and it's becoming our really popular look this year. And traditionally, LED Christmas lights are that faceted style, that kind of like it's got that rough texture on the outside, which has been the kind of go-to look for Christmas lights LED for a long time. But this is kind of a new style that's been coming out, and it's becoming really popular. And we have the largest stock of it probably in this area. We have thousands and thousands of them.
Now, do they come in more colors than just the blue and the red? Are they multi?
Oh yeah, we got red, green, blue, orange, white, purple. everything.
Very cool. Well, I'll keep my eyes peeled for those this year. I haven't seen any in our neighborhood yet. That doesn't mean that they're not here. I just haven't seen any. I love that. So sometimes homeowners think that the best thing to do is to go get their lights first. What would you
Mhm.
say again if they're starting this process? Maybe it's their first time in their home and they
Sure.
haven't done lights yet, or they've had lights hung, many years or whatever. Just can you share a little bit about like the do's and the don'ts, so to speak?
Absolutely. I can tell you that, with the exception of the really small guys who you're going to find on Facebook, really cheap, no contracting company is going to install your lights if you bought them from Home Depot or Walmart or any of those big box stores, because they're very low quality. They break very quickly, and then we end up having a very hectic season coming out there 5 or 6 times throughout the year to replace bulbs and things like that on stuff that we can't even warranty anyway. So if you're gonna there's really kind of two routes to go when you're hiring a contractor. You
Okay.
go I want to purchase my lights, or I want to lease my lights.
Okay.
Every reputable contracting company like ours will give you the option of doing it both ways. With the leasing model, it's really great because you pay X amount. It'll be a little bit less than what you'd pay your first year if you purchased. And you can do red and white this year, and next year you can do multicolor, and the year after that you can do red, white, and blue if you want to. I do see it. You can do red, white, and blue. You can do red and green. You can do just warm white, cool white, whatever you want. And every year you can change your design, and you're not locked into anything. And that you're never going to have to say, "Oh, I bought all this lighting last year, and now I don't want it. I don't like it. I want to change it. So now I have to
Sure.
reinvest." So that's the leasing option. It's definitely our most popular option because it gives lots of flexibility.
So if you're someone that just gets tired of the same look or just likes change in general, the leasing option is probably your best option for the
Absolutely.
long-term savings, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's going to definitely give you the option to do whatever you want every year and give you the most flexibility. Now, if you're someone who knows exactly what they like, I like red and white, and that's what I'm going to want for the next 5 years, or I like just white, and that's what I'm going to want for the next 5 years, then you should absolutely purchase. And you can purchase. We'll sell commercial grade LED lighting straight to you. We'll sell it to you at a great price. We won't, we're not here to make money off of the sale of the products. We're here to make the money on installing it, removing it.
Sure.
And then, yeah, and then you'll pay to purchase the lights the first year, and then you'll pay the installation and removal fee, which is all included in your quote that first year. And then the next year, you're just going to pay the installation and removal fee because obviously you're not having to repurchase. You own those lights. However, we will store them for you. We'll happily store them for you in the off season, so you don't have to keep them. We don't charge any extra for that. Keep them in a nice climate controlled warehouse that prevents them from having any issues over the season, because I have seen lights come out of attics after being stored in the Texas heat in an attic, and it's basically just one big blob of green mush. Nobody likes that.
Well, when you told me that you will store my lights for me, I got so excited because we are going to have extra space in our garage now, and I don't even have to think about it or worry about it. So yay for that.
Yeah. And then the best part about that too is, we're going to bring them back next year when we go to reinstall. We're going to have pre-tested everything. We're going to make sure that nothing stopped working in the off season. There's no burnt out bulbs or damaged LEDs. Nothing's happened. And if there's any problems, we're going to fix it, make sure it's ready to go. So when the day comes to put your lights up, we're not having to, change things or fix things or anything like that. They're going to go up and come down just as smooth. And of course, if next year you decide, you know what, I own my lights, but I really want to hire some other company to do it. They're right down the street from me and they're my brother's nephew's friend. I'll bring them back to your house. I'll bring them right back over and hand them to you. Everything will be color coded and ready to go. And I'll even give you the map of your house that shows where every string goes.
Awesome. Thank you for including that little tidbit in there. So Joel, tell me a little bit about your company and everything that you are providing.
Sure.
Like what all services do you include? Because I know it's not just holiday lights, right?
No, we do a little bit of everything. Actually, this year we call ourselves DFW Holiday because instead of DFW Christmas, because we don't just do Christmas lighting. We do Hanukkah lighting. We do Halloween lighting, which is our new favorite one this year. I've got orange and purple lights up on my own house that my wife and kids absolutely loved this year. We've started doing a lot of lighting for Diwali, which is becoming a really popular thing. And we have a very high concentration of people who celebrate Diwali right in my own neighborhood. So they want very extravagant lights on their house because Diwali, as I understand, is the festival of lights. And then we've also really started doing wedding lights. People will, for the big day or the week of the big day, they want everyone in their neighborhood to know something fancy is happening. So we'll actually do what I've actually been calling Griswold style. We will every foot on their gutter line, we will drape a string of lights down from the gutter line all the way to the ground, all the way around the front of their house, so that it is lit up to the point where not only will all your neighbors know you're getting married that week, but I'm pretty sure the crew of the International Space Station will know it as well.
That's awesome.
We've been doing a lot of that this year, and getting a lot of people asking for that in all throughout the year. It'll be March, April, and say, I want my wedding lights up, and we'll come out, we'll install them, we'll leave them up for a week until a couple days after your wedding, and then we'll come take them back down again.
That's fantastic. So I know you and I had a previous conversation about Christmas lights, right? I'm not going to lie, Joel. I was not ready to have my lights on the house before Halloween. I wasn't ready for it, but I knew that was what we needed to do. We got to get on the calendar, that sort of thing. And then of course, here Halloween was, and one of our neighbors had these really awesome, like strobing lights and orange and all the fun. I know you mentioned, colors and such earlier. And I guess people are more familiar with the terminology of jellyfish lights. I think that's what those were. I know it's a name brand. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And is that something that you guys do as well?
Absolutely. So you're right. Jellyfish is a brand. It's a very specific brand that does what you're talking about in a very specific way. But they're not the only brand. There's lots of other companies out there that do exactly that. But the more proper term for it is like permanently installed smart lighting. You can, or under eave lighting, or even landscape lighting, where you can control it either from an app or a remote. We have some on our house as well that the house was green while the roof line was red and orange. During 4th of July month, it'll be red, white, and blue. And homeowners are really starting to like that kind of look now. And again, the most popular one is Jellyfish. We're actually, as a company, working on getting certified with Jellyfish so that we can install their specific products. But in the meantime, we have some other brands that we have installed in people's houses. Typically under the eaves, it'll be down lights every foot or 2 feet that they can individually control, make the whole house a certain color, make them flash, make them change, strobe, do all sorts of fun effects for Halloween, for 4th of July, or for heck, if you want to have Labor Day lights up, I'm sure there's a color we can figure out that'll work for Labor Day.
That's so cool. Now, would you say that doing lights year round, where they're hung, they permanently stay, would you say that that's a more cost-effective way to be festive when it comes to lighting?
Installing permanent lights is not something that I would necessarily consider to be cost-effective. It is definitely a more it's a heavier investment up front, because those systems do cost quite a bit. There's a lot of permanent electricity. There's some permits required, things like that, to have that stuff installed. But it does give you the option of doing anything you want whenever you want to do it, and it's always there. And if you're in a month where there's no real holidays you want to celebrate, just turn them white and your house looks really pretty. It's a really great way to do that. And they also look very great supplemented with traditional things, like, if you have your house striped in red and green from your permanently installed lighting, and then you have your white lights along your traditional Christmas light, they do complement each other very well.
Ooh, that sounds really pretty. That sounds really pretty. Anything else that you want to touch on as far as the lighting services that you provide, Joel?
No, I think we pretty much went over most of those things.
You do so much.
We try to, and lighting is really what we do. We don't, unlike a lot of the companies where it's like we're landscapers, but then we're also Christmas light installers in the winter. We're a lighting company. Like, that's what we do.
What sets you apart from the competition?
Aside from the fact that we will, a lot of companies will send you mock-ups and things like that. We'll send you a whole bunch. We'll send you a bunch of, digital copies for you to look at, see what your house will look like at night. We store everything for free in the off season for you guys, so that you don't ever have to worry about, November 1st comes around, your appointment is, and now somebody's climbing up in the attic trying to find the boxes of lights that you guys stashed up there last year. Never have to deal with that kind of stuff. We're a small family company. I know we seem a lot bigger, but we only have, about 7 employees. It's myself, my wife, and a few other people. So you're going to get that friendly touch. You're going to, myself or my brother or my wife are going to be coming out to basically every house that we touch this year. And there's a really strong possibility that I'll be climbing on your roof if I come out there and do it myself. And we're not that, not that faceless company that you once you hire us, you'll never hear from us again. If something goes wrong, you'll never hear from us again. We provide our, a lot of our information for everybody so that we're very easy to get a hold of.
And even more importantly, you're insured and bonded.
We are insured and bonded, which is a very, very important thing. All the bigger companies are, but landscaping companies and your window companies and companies like that they may be insured for landscaping, but if they put somebody on your roof, there's a really good chance that their liability insurance that they've hired for their business may not cover that.
Absolutely. My husband and former business partner is now in insurance. And so when I told him that you guys were insured and bonded, he was like, woo, that's, great news. So I know he was very proud of my hire. So, so glad to have you, Joel. This was a lot of great information. I am looking forward to continuing our business relationship and you guys being back out here for the uninstall and storing of our lights. So thank you so much. And you guys, I will put Joel's information in the comments below. So if you have any questions for him, if you'd like for him to run a quote, Joel, you'll also give me your link so that way they can get an online quote as well, correct?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. All I got to do is go to our website and we have a little form there already made. You snap a picture of your house, answer a couple questions, send it off to us, and we'll send you back some quotes, usually the same day.
Good deal. Well, I think that we are going to help people avoid getting sued this holiday season. So fist bump to you, Joel. Thank you so much. You have a blessed day.
You too. Thanks for having me, Brittney.
My pleasure.